widespread danger is fallout.
Welcome everyone to the RottenPop podcast. My name is Sid Rotten and I am your host on this journey across the video rental universe. This is a podcast dedicated to exploring the unwatched and forgotten pictures of yesteryear, while also watching some classics, blockbusters, and newer films to keep everyone happy. So strap yourself in today for a discussion on 3 films that I had just recently reviewed. These 3 films all share a loose theme, and all of them are part of the 150 movies of 1984. What are the 150 movies of 1984, you ask? Well, it's a project that I've been working on for years, and I've been posting about on Instagram, and you can see that over at RottenFlix on there. Or how about on Letterboxd, and you can check me out at RottenPop on Letterboxd. Or you can see my struggle to make RottenPop a thing on YouTube, and you can find that channel at RottenPop over there. We'll go ahead and explore the 150 movies project, though, at the end of this show. Because today we're taking a look at 3 films. And those 3 films are going to be 1, the return of our giant radioactive lizard death god, Godzilla, in the film Return of Godzilla. Then we're flipping over to a completely different type of movie that deals with neo-noir, radioactive wastelands. It's Albert Pyun's Radioactive Dreams. And then to close us out, we're going to be taking a serious look at a movie that may be one of the most disturbing of the 1980s. It's got to be one of the most disturbing nuclear war films of all time. That's Mick Jackson's BBC One made-for-TV movie, Threads. And if you haven't guessed it, today's theme is radiation. With the Fallout television show recently making a huge impact, and by the way, I loved it, I thought that it'd be fun to start this podcast off with a topic that's pretty fresh. I know it's a pretty broad theme, and I'm certain that these 3 movies aren't even going to touch the meaning of the word from beginning to end. But what we're going to be taking a look at are radioactive giant monsters, intricate mysteries in wastelands, and unspeakable horrors of nuclear war. These movies all have a certain intrigue to them, and they're all pretty damned entertaining in their own right. I'm going to say that up front that I haven't seen any of these, so I'm going into it pretty blind. Here we go. In 1984, the world was living quietly in fear. The Cold War between the US and Russia had stayed relatively tame and had been going on for near decades at this point. However, the ever-looming threat of nuclear war hung in the sky very heavy, and the fear of communism was still ingrained in our society. Ronald Reagan was in the White House, and he didn't seem to be slowing down his goal to stomp out the pinko commie bastards. A lot of the films that were released around this time either warned us against the horrors of nuclear war or glorified the American response to foreign aggressors. There was a lot of pro-democracy and pro-American propaganda that was going around that was all very thinly veiled. And by the way, stick around next week because the theme is going to be American propaganda on that show. In 1954, Ishiro Honda created the infamous Godzilla as a warning against nuclear weapons. A film that features a giant monster of unfathomable size wreaking havoc on a major metropolitan city. Godzilla's nuclear theme ran deep, as the creature not only was a product of the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but also a creature that ingests and spews radiation. In The Return of Godzilla, these traits are carried over. Godzilla is larger and hungry for nuclear energy, attacking and destroying a nuclear submarine and a Japanese nuclear power plant. Director Koji Hashimoto wanted to continue the metaphors of Godzilla being this giant nuclear monster as well, and made the film as a response to the long-running feud between the US and USSR, with Japan being caught in the center. It's a great picture, one of the better Godzilla movies. The story ignores the other campy entries to the series and comes as a direct sequel to the 1954 original. And while I initially didn't like that move, I think I've come to appreciate this since it's the beginning of a new era for this franchise. I was impressed with the emotion on display at the end of the movie. Seeing Godzilla descend into the volcano almost brought a tear to my eye. However, I kind of had it in my own headcanon that this is the beginning to the prequel, that this is the beginning to the awesome comic book series Godzilla in Hell. And if you haven't seen Godzilla in Hell or haven't read that, definitely go out of your way to check that out. It's a really fun monster movie, and if you haven't seen The Return of Godzilla, or you haven't seen any Godzilla movies before, then you're in for a treat. Just don't be thrown off by his googly eyes that make him look like Kermit the fucking Frog. It's safe for everyone to enjoy. However, I did find the action and terror come up pretty short. Especially when you hold it up against the 1954 original. And when you hold it up against the 1955 sequel, Godzilla Raids Again. If you want to see my quick cast about those two movies, I implore you to check out the double feature duel on my YouTube channel that compares Godzilla Raids Again and the 1984 Return of Godzilla. It declares which one is the best sequel. All that being said, Return of Godzilla picks up a solid 3.5 irradiated stars from the staff here at RottenPop.
There's enough food and water in this joint to last 1,000,000 years. Yeah.
Albert Pyun is a low-budget master, and he can almost make anything out of nothing. Case in point, Radioactive Dreams. This is such an interesting feature that blends noir-style mystery with comedy with wasteland sci-fi. It has everything. 2 dorky leads, corny 40s and 50s references, roving gangs of irradiated biker babes, and a strangely cute creature that's meant to be scary. And it's been mentioned that this was an inspiration for the creators of the Fallout game. They lifted tons of stuff from this one. I saw a proto-looking Pip-Boy. They had vaults, wasteland radio, cannibals, raiders, ghouls. There was a proto-Deathclaw looking thing. They even had manuals that you could learn from. Like in the beginning of the film, the boys are getting haircuts after one of them learns how to be a barber through a very vault-techy looking book called Be a Barber. Pretty interesting. The film's an interesting journey for 2 friends who'd been locked underground for 20 years. During that 20-year time frame, a nuclear war broke out, leaving a near-barren wasteland on the surface. They decided that they would go on a mission to find women and solve crimes. But the duo stumble upon a pair of highly sought-after keys to the last nuclear bomb on the planet, and they find themselves being hunted down by multiple gangs as their boyish dreams are turned to dust. Before starting this project, I had no idea that Radioactive Dreams even existed, and now I'm initiated. I'm fully on board with this weird wasteland comedy. John Stockwell and Michael Dudikoff grew on me. Their strange little noir detective obsession and the general naivete makes for a really fun movie. Something totally unexpected. As a fan of the Fallout series, I was super interested in knowing where that series came from. And looking at this, it was really interesting to see the proto-pieces that could be put together for this Fallout puzzle. The film isn't perfect, and it has a lot of things that don't make sense. Plot holes here and there. A lot of the characters are pretty dumb. But it's fun, and it's an original idea, and I can't knock it for that. If you want to watch something fun, you want to watch something original, you just want to let your hair down and enjoy a movie for the afternoon, this is going to be that. 2 stars. Finally, we're going to bring things down a notch with the British made-for-TV movie Threads. Director Mick Jackson stated that he made this film in a response to Hollywood's nuclear war movies, where they had featured they're focused too heavily on big Hollywood stars and special effects. Movies like The Day After and Testament are prime examples of this. Neglecting the true horrors of nuclear fallout and radiation dangers to make a buck and make a good-looking movie. Instead, Jackson aimed to emphasize the utter breakdown that would occur as countries attempted to keep citizens safe and calm during an attack. This harsh realism angered Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher at the time, who reportedly ensured that the BBC would never air this film ever again. And that's a ban that remained in place until 2003 when BBC4 re-aired it. Threads throws you into the shoes of a young Sheffield couple, Ruth and Jimmy, as their world crumbles under the weight of a nuclear war sparked by the US and USSR tensions. This isn't your typical war film. It's a brutal documentary style that plunges you into the chaos, desperation, and long-term devastation following a nuclear attack. It leaves you questioning if anyone could survive, let alone win, and who you should trust in that situation. Threads is terrifying. The filmmaker's decision to begin the movie with the first 40 minutes depicting life as normal is highly effective. The normalcy emphasizes the intensity and the anxiety of the looming threat of the bomb dropping. It's a constant sense that you never know what's going to happen. The bomb might drop at any moment. And when it finally does, the viewer's unprepared to give up on the characters that they've already identified with. You don't find people anymore. A lot of characters just go missing. Some characters are lost, never to be heard from again. Others, the survivors, face a bizarre post-apocalyptic world filled with depression, hopelessness, and sorrow. This is a very dour movie, but it's much better than those other titles that I had mentioned before. If you want a nuclear war movie to stick with you and act as more of a warning, then this is going to be right up your alley. Threads does a great job presenting the drama and the horror. 3.5 stars. I would say 4 stars, but I find that there's just a bit more that it could have done. Maybe the script could have been a little deeper. Either way, 3.5 stars. Good movie. That was the 3 films that had to do with radiation from this last week. Yeah, so I don't know. What did you think? I really like these movies. I think that they're all pretty great in their own way. Radioactive Dreams is obviously not the best film, but I think that it's really relevant right now, especially with the Fallout series doing as well as it did. Threads and Godzilla are both fantastic. I think it's almost neck and neck with both of those. Godzilla is great. If you aren't a Godzilla fan or you have never seen a Godzilla film before, then this is definitely going to be right up your alley. You get a good introduction to the monster. You get a good, solid story. And then Threads is a masterpiece. Threads really is fantastic. I don't know. Maybe I should bump it up to 4 stars. I've got it at 3.5 stars right now. I'll do another rewatch. Maybe I'll do a RottenPop rewind in a few months and take another look at it again. But right now it's at 3.5 stars, and I'm going to say that that sits right on top of the list. Now, I haven't done a lot of movies in this 150 movies journey yet. I've only done these 3, so I'm going to have to rank them. Number 1, Threads, definitely. Number 2, Godzilla. And then number 3 is going to have to be Radioactive Dreams. So join me next week when we take a look at 3 more films that are going to be following in the theme of American propaganda. Go ahead and let that one sit. I know that's a weird topic, but American propaganda films, we're going to look at 3 of them next week. Keep watching old movies. Make sure you do the like, subscribe, ring the little bell icon, all that good stuff that YouTube people like to say. And thank you for sticking with me. This is Sid Rotten with RottenPop. Have a good one.
Let's all go to the lobby.